and welcome. I'm Dr. Chinu Bahira. We have a special guest today in our studio. She is Nidhi Jamolman. She is a senior journalist who have worked on science, environment, and rural issues. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I think this is your first visit to Berhampur University. What is your impression about the university?
It's lovely. I mean, I have come from a very, very small town of Jammu Kashmir. And I grew up where we had a small school, lovely university. So I have some special fondness for places which are not too big, because every time I visit a place which is not a big city, which is a slightly small town with a relaxed environment, it just somehow reminds me of my hometown. And that's exactly how I felt after coming to Berhampur University for the first time. And last evening, I spent a lot of time just walking around the campus, enjoying the beauty, enjoying the peace, enjoying the greenery. So I absolutely love coming here. Really beautiful feeling. I never thought I will be a journalist. That was not when I was studying. I finished my school education in Jammu Kashmir. I belong to Jammu Kashmir. For my higher education, I came to Delhi. And even when I was studying in Delhi, I have not studied journalism because I never thought I will be a journalist. I became a journalist because of some coincidences and some experiences I had. After completing my master's in social work, and because masters in social work program made us visit a lot of low income areas where people in slums live, we had a lot of exposure to rural India. We would go for a field work to rural India. So that exposure somewhere helped me, because I started enjoying that experience of visiting some place, especially in rural parts of the country, and interacting with people and trying to understand, how people live, what do they do, what stories they have to tell. So all those experience, at that moment also, I didn't know that I want to be a journalist. It so happened that in Delhi there is an organization called Center for Science and Environment, and I joined Center for Science and Environment for research work as a research associate. And I was researching on environmental issues. They bring out books called State of India's Environment Report. It's a very prestigious report which Center for Science and Environment brings out. And CSE also brings out a magazine called Down to Earth. After working on research projects with CSE, it just so happened that I was told to write just small stories or something for Down to Earth. And I started writing for Down to Earth, and that's when I started enjoying that kind of writing. And that's when they said that because you enjoy it and you like traveling and meeting people, why don't you start reporting for Down to Earth? And when I decided to become a reporter for Down to Earth, I wasn't very sure if I will be a good journalist or not. But I thought, okay, let me just try. It's a new experience. And they told me, if you don't enjoy Down to Earth, you can always come back to the research team. So that's when I shifted to Down to Earth and I started reporting for Down to Earth. I absolutely loved it. It is something you realize, oh yes, this is exactly what I wanted to do in life. And I never went back to then the research team. And then I continued with Down to Earth for about 12 years. So that's how it was not a very conscious decision. I have not studied journalism. And I tell a lot of students when I speak to them that, journalism, you learn journalism skills in colleges. Now, when we were in college that time, journalism programs were very limited. Now there are universities offering very good journalism program. Like Berhampur University has such a good program on journalism and mass communication. But there is something you also learn when you go to the field. And I think that's going to the field, meeting people, sitting and talking to them. That's kind of made me a journalist, because eventually journalism is all about stories. And how well you are, how patiently can you listen to people and then write their stories. So that's how it has been with me. It was not a conscious decision. Something came my way. I exposed myself to it and I realized how much I love doing that. So that's the journey.
In your opinion, sir, how can both government and private sector work collaboratively to mitigate the challenges that is faced by climate change?
I have so many beautiful memories of, and they are both, some of them have actually made me cry also. Some of them have made me push my boundaries. I'll give you an example. Like last year, I went to Everest Base Camp as a reporter. You know, people go to Everest Base Camp because they love trekking and all that. But a Nepal Forum of Science Journalists had a Himalayan boot camp, climate boot camp last year, and they took 8 journalists from SAARC countries, and I applied for it, and my application from India got selected. And that assignment of actually going to Everest region and reporting from there, I hold it very close to my heart because I feel 25 years of my reporting and that one assignment has been so different, because you really never go to Everest to do stories on climate change. And so, which is why I think that has been my most special experience, because that made me push my limits. Because I live in Mumbai, which is a sea level, and you can imagine once from sea level you're straight going to something like an Everest region. So the challenges you face, and we had only 1 month time to prepare ourselves physically and mentally to go to an Everest region and report from there. It was physically, mentally extremely challenging because every day in a tough terrain, you are walking for 6, 7, 8 hours and gaining, altitude every day. And you are in a region which is, of course, very cold. As you go up, oxygen starts depleting. You have breathing difficulty. You can't, because you're, that's how high altitude, you stop eating because you just can't eat. Your systems start. So every day was a challenge. And every day I used to wake up and think that, Nidhi, can I make it till the evening today? Because I wasn't sure that if by today evening we have to reach the next point here, will I be able to walk and reach till there? But then you push your limits and you tell yourself, यहाँ तक आए हैं तो आगे भी चले जाएंगे. And then you are with a group of other people who are always supporting you. You're meeting Sherpa communities, listening to to their stories, and you feel that this is such a great opportunity for you as a journalist to record voices of people whose voices world has not heard. We really don't know what Sherpa communities feels about the climate change that is happening in that region. If the temperatures are rising there, how is it affecting Sherpa people? How is it affecting their yaks? How is it affecting their cattle, their livelihoods? These voices we never really get to hear. So then it's also responsibility on you as a journalist that you've gone there. So it's your duty and responsibility to record those voices. So that was the most difficult assignment of my life. But that was also the most brilliant assignment, because I think it made me push my boundaries so much that where you're not able to eat, you're not even able to sleep at night, but every day you walk, you meet people, you talk to them, you finish your task, and then you come back and you file stories from that region. So that's been, I would say, the most exhilarating experience of the past 25 years of my journalism. And one very, very, there are a lot of times you are also doing stories which are in a dangerous region. I am reminded of, this is many years back, at the time I was with Down to Earth only. We got to know that there are some villages on Jharkhand and Bihar border where tribal people had filed a PIL because their water sources were contaminated. So from Delhi, I just thought that I will go down till Allahabad and meet the lawyer and do a story around what is this whole case of PIL which tribal people have filed and all. I reached Allahabad and I realized that they told me it's a big issue. You must go to those villages, speak to those people and find out. And then, but that region is also Naxalite affected, at least at that time. I'm talking of some 15, 20 years back. And I was told that you should not go to that region because that entire belt on Bihar-Jharkhand border is Naxalite affected. And these are all forest region and tribal regions. So it is very dangerous for you to go there. But I just called up my office and I just told them I've come down till here. I will take some local person with me, but यहाँ तक आई हूँ तो it makes मतलब let me just go and find out. If I feel it is too difficult today, because I did not even have a camera person or anybody else there. Because see, these are the kind of decisions sometimes we as journalists need to take at that. Because when I left from Delhi, I didn't know that region is like this. You know, I thought it's a, it is Uttar Pradesh and Jharkhand border. So I thought it's going to be safe. But well, you reach a point and that's the time you have to take a decision that will you go forward for the story or will you not. But the important thing is also you keep your office informed. And I told them and they told me, you decide, you really want to go? I said, I'll take a local person and all, but let me go and see. And you know, we went there. I was scared, to be very honest, because you know, the local people who tell us कि यहाँ पे बाहर के जो लोग आते हैं उनकी गाड़ी उड़ा देते हैं when you, because they put those, you know, exactly. So they said you going from the forest, but that also happens. But I think it was a great experience. At that time, I was very scared because I was there and my driver was there, and I remember there is this thick sal forest in that region, and we got very late in the evening by the time we left that village. So it was dark, thick forest, and it only had these two headlights of our jeep which is moving. And I know I was praying in my heart, and I'm sure my driver was also praying in his heart ki we should just come out of this forest area and reach the highway, and then we know we are safe. So from that village, Rohiniya Damar is the name of the village. It's in Chopan block of Sonbhadra district in Uttar Pradesh. Till we came out of the forest and we hit the highway. You know, highway we reached, he stopped his car and he also just sat for some time. And I just sat for some time. We had water and all this and that. I said, okay, we are out of it. But you know, that's a very important story, because after I went to the village, I realized all the children, tribal children in that region, they had deformed legs. We carried that big picture in Down to Earth magazine where all these little tribal children are standing and their legs are all deformed. Why? Because they drink water in these small ponds, and their entire water had very high levels of fluoride. So because of drinking fluoride excess, children, all of them had deformed legs. I met women who were like barely 35-40 years old, but they used to walk like this, because that is what fluoride does. It deforms your bones. So you know, there were women I met and they said, we haven't looked at the sky for years. I've forgotten how it looks like, because they all walk like this. So you realize that for important stories, you have to walk an extra mile. You have to come out of your, you know, comfort zone. If as journalists we want to be in our comfort zone where, you know, I will sit in my office, speak to people over the phone, or maybe just do city reporting and all, that reporting is also important. But I think as journalists, we have to push our boundaries. Then only we will get the best of stories, and then only you also get some satisfaction of, okay, this story was worth it. Otherwise, you're like, okay, there's so many millions of stories happening, you are just doing one more story. So I think these are some two examples I can tell you.
You have an extensive career of 30 years on disaster risk reduction and climate action. So what motivates you, sir, to mainly focus on this field?
So I think media has a huge role to play. I also had a session just before lunch, and that's exactly what I spoke. We are realizing that communication is a very, very important aspect, especially when we are looking at environment. Climate change is such a big issue, because we have climate science, which scientists are doing. They are telling us what's going to happen. They are creating models and telling us if temperature reaches this level, this is what will happen to our sea level rise, and this will what happen to the glaciers, and temperatures will reach, and monsoon what will happen. But that's science, and that's very scientific way they talk. Now common people cannot understand what this science is all about, but climate change is impacting each one of us. There is nobody on this planet right now who is not affected by climate change. So it is important that people understand, if a farmer in Odisha is losing crop after crop cycle because the weather has changed so much, because extreme weather events are increasing, or your fishing community is losing livelihood and the money they earn from the sea because of increasing cyclones, because of which they cannot go to the sea, because whenever a cyclone is coming, all fishing activities are suspended. So we've also recorded through a series saying that how, because of increasing cyclones, now the number of days for which fishers cannot go to the sea have increased. And a lot of our fishing community earns daily basis. They go, they catch fish, they come back, they sell, and that's how they do it. So climate change is impacting all of us, and especially people who are from already poor and marginalized communities. It is unfortunately affecting them much more than it is affecting you and me. So for us, it's very important to also communicate to them what is happening. And also, as communicators, I feel a lot of time we journalists only do doomsday stories around climate change. That, oh, climate change is happening, everything is getting destroyed, the world will destroy, and see, this is bad, that is bad. Because of that, what's happening is that one is people are becoming hopeless. They all feel that we are all going to die in some time, so might as well, drive our cars and put our air conditioners on 20 degrees Celsius and live, because eventually to sab khatam hone wala hi hai. Second thing is that eco anxiety is increasing in children. I have two kids, and my son is 12 years old, and just like a year back he actually asked me that, Mama, do you think I will live all my life? Because he said, I feel that by the time I am 30-35, the planet will be so hot that all of us are going to die. So we must realize that eco anxiety is very high. That is where the job of journalists as communicators come in, that we communicate science in a simple language for people to understand why it is happening, whatever is happening, whether it is if our monsoon rainfall patterns are changing, why is that happening, and how does it impact them. But we also go a mile extra and try and find out how can people be helped. When we speak to scientists, I specifically believe that a story is not complete if it is only pointing out problems. You point out the problem, but as journalists, it's also important for us to find the answers. So I cannot tell that you grow this crop in this way, but my job as a journalist is to find scientists who are already working on such crops and then do those stories and tell people, yes, this is what is happening. This is how our whole monsoon patterns are weakening or changing, because of which the rainfall patterns are going to change in the coming years. So these are the type of crops people should grow, switch to this crop, don't do this. So that's where the job of journalists and communicators come in, because scientists also realize that they are bad communicators. They have all accepted it that we are bad communicators, which is why we want journalists to build their capacities to first understand the science. We have to first understand what's happening. Once we understand it, we have to then demystify it, make it much more simpler, and then communicate it to the larger people for them to understand कि why is it happening, क्यों हो रहा है ये, और आने वाले सालों में कैसे होगा. So can we pre-warn people? Can we forewarn people? Odisha does such brilliant work now with cyclone predictions and evacuating. A big role is played by media. Once science will tell us, okay, this depression in Bay of Bengal will turn into a cyclone. Exactly, they will give you the directions and all that. Then it's up to the media to actually take that information, simplify it, and find out, okay, this is where it is reaching. On this date, it will reach here. These are the cyclone centers. People should be evacuated here. So that's where a lot of role of media, journalists, communicators come in. And I think in a changing climate, we have a huge role to play as journalists, as communicators.
Where do you see the field of disaster risk reduction and climate action heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
See, when I started out as a journalist 25 years back, as an environment journalist, at that time there was nothing called environment journalism in the country. And a lot of people, they also used to ask me, what kind of a journalist are you? Because they thought journalists, if you're reporting on politics, if you're reporting on foreign affairs, these are the, or political parties, that's what journalists should do. What is there to report on environment? Everybody used to say, ya to ye, birds and bees, or they would say kutta billi beat. That was like a favorite thing. Ya tum logon ka to kutta billi beat hota hai. But over a period of time, environmental journalism has made a huge space for itself. Now I see so many of my friends who used to report only on politics have started talking of environment. because you realize that even your politics makes no sense if you're not looking at climate and environment. Politicians are realizing that you have to talk of environment, climate, whatever. Like, I think in no constituency you can speak about other things if you're not talking of food and food security, and your food security is directly threatened by climate change and how the whole weather systems are changing. So that way, I would say the space for environmental journalism has increased. When we started off, journalists had to struggle to get environment stories in newspapers or television. But over a period of time, now it's very common to have environment stories on front page. We had to fight so much. But now if Delhi has smog, it will come all on the front pages that, and a person in Delhi smoking some 50 cigarettes a day or stuff like that, or people in Delhi have black lungs. So now I think space for environment stories has definitely increased. But the problem is also the kind of environment stories. They are still very urban. Because I focus a lot on rural India and rural stories. Now, environment stories are also there in rural India. But unfortunately, when we look at climate stories or environment stories, whatever eyeballs these stories get are all urban stories. I'll give you an example. Last year in October, Bihar had major floods. Nepal, if you remember, had terrible floods. There was a very, very bad situation in Nepal. A lot of people died also, and of course, because Bihar is downstream of Nepal, all the water from Nepal flew down to Bihar. And by chance, I was at that time in Bihar for some training program, and in the morning we realized that North Bihar is under floods. And so I went to North Bihar, Paschim Champaran, because I thought since I'm there, I should do some reporting on it. And I came back from there, I realized that that's the same time when Bangalore also had a lot of rainfall and Bangalore was flooded. So all the media space Bangalore took. Nobody bothered about what's happening to the poor people in North Bihar. Because if Bangalore gets flooded, if those rich colonies has waste level water, if you see SUVs floating in flood water, that becomes a news for a news channel or for newspapers. But people who are traditionally been so poor and so marginalized, when they face floods, that doesn't make it to the national or the so-called mainstream media. So environment stories, climate stories have got space now, much more space. Because now you can't ignore these stories, because climate change affects everything. It is affecting your water, it is affecting your food baskets, it is affecting your economy, it is also affecting your foreign affairs, because we have transboundary rivers that we are sharing. We are sharing rivers with China, with Pakistan. So if the river flows change, it affects your, how do you deal with your, diplomacy and all that. So space has increased, but again, there is an imbalance. A lot of these stories are all urban, how urban people are, or if tourists are going to Manali and then something landslide happens and they get stuck, then it becomes a story. But what's happening to maybe the springs in Himalayas, on which the local people are dependent for their drinking water sources, they are drying up, but you will rarely see those kind of stories in mainstream media. So there is still that kind of imbalance.
Lastly, I would like to ask you one more question, sir. What advice you will give to the student, research scholar and professionals who want to pursue their career in disaster risk management, climate change and sustainability?
So I will give this message that one is that whatever job you do today, when you come out of the college, whichever job you pick up, climate change and environment will be an important factor, because like I said, environment and climate change is going to affect everything, right from trade or anything you look at. So it's an important sector. If you want to do reporting around climate change, environmental issues, this is the right time to do it, because these are the stories which will now really get picked up and which will become very, very important. So if you can build skills where you can join these different dots and build comprehensive stories, this is the real time, because we struggled in our time, because that time environment was not that important. But now it's very important. So if you guys are interested in this is the right time for you to build a career around, climate change, climate journalism, environment journalism, and all that. Second thing I would tell youngsters is, I think, avoid getting into your comfort zone. I think that's a message I want to give, because if you are in your comfort zone, you will never grow. I meet a lot of young students, interns also sometimes do internship with me. There has to be a hunger of pushing yourself, going out and learning new things. Please go out. We live in a country which is so diverse, I think even if I spend my whole lifetime traveling, I will not be able to cover this country and the diversity of stories it has. So we are blessed to be in a country which can give us immense learnings. So whatever you do, please go out, travel to different regions, speak to people, and when you travel as a learner. I am so old, 25 years of journalism, but even when I go to the field for reporting, I always tell myself, I know nothing, I'm still learning. So when you go with that mindset that I'm going to learn, I don't know what it is. So these people, maybe I meet so many women who are unlettered, who are illiterate, who have never gone to a school, but I learn so much from them, because the kind of things they tell me, we do not read it in textbooks. So please be open to that kind of learning, and that learning will only come when you travel, you get out of your comfort zone, you get out of the people who are like you and me, and you mix with people who are not like you, and then you will learn a lot from them about stories and also about life. So I think this is very important. I want to tell people that please go out, travel, try to understand the complexity of problems. Initial years of your work should focus on, let me try and understand what are the problems, rather than thinking that I'm going to solve all these problems. So first, let's try and understand what the problems are, and you will be only able to understand the problems when you go out, meet different people, get the complexity of the whole thing, and then come back and start joining your dots, and over the years, maybe something bigger comes out of it. So I think that's what my message will be.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this insightful discussion. And for me personally, this will be a memorable discussion with you, because I also belong to the field of journalism and mass communication.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you.